Kia ora, my name is Donna Dinsdale and I am currently a tutor on the Bachelor of Creative Industries at Toi Ohomai Institute of Technology in Tauranga. I am also a practitioner, so my background is in fashion design. So you could say that my experience as a fashion designer started off as something that was quite commercial. In recent years, my practice has progressed into something that's more conceptual and more art-based. So I really enjoy working with textiles. I enjoy a lot of free-form draping directly on the mannequin and sculpturing garments, I guess. Currently videoing this from my studio in Te Puke, which is a beautiful small town about half an hour drive from Tauranga. So welcome. I hope you enjoy my presentation. So one of the things I wanted to talk about first was my process. So for me, selecting the resources that drive the work is really important. As you can see from my studio, there's a lot going on. Beyond this, there is boxes and boxes and shelves of amazing resources that I can pull upon. So approaching this from a sustainable perspective is really important. And this particular piece, I've selected a iconic, I guess, woolen blanket for many reasons, which I'll talk about as we go through the presentation. This has been quite challenging, but also quite exciting. So the work I'm presenting is quite playful. It's open for interpretation or reinterpretation. And it explores the relationship between the post-war suburban housewife of the 1950s and her emerging thoughts around sexuality, I guess, and her hidden desires. So when I create work, I really like to have a narrative or create a character around the work. So for this particular piece, I've titled her Betty, and this helped me guide the design process and actually position the work. So as I said, I've created Betty around this notion of a 1950s housewife, but also the notion of a sex bomb or pin-up girl, which immediately for me sort of forms a really strong visual image. Betty's quite complex, but she's and there's lots of hidden layers, and there's a lot going on. Research indicates that, or argues, that the classic pin-up girls of World War II represented a subversive model of female sexuality that combined conventional beauty, blatant sexuality, professional independence, and wholesome patriotism. So, you know, there's a lot going on in this piece, and there's a lot going on for Betty, I guess. So I see Betty as a representation of historical and social constructs. I see her as an obvious reference to the role as a domestic housewife, and I think that's because of the use of the woolen blanket and what it represents. So there is playful tension between the resources that I've used and the design aesthetic of the piece. I've really concentrated on, when developing the piece, concentrated on the shape and the form, so that blatantly that idea of sexuality could be communicated to the audience. So we could say that Betty has a hyper-feminine quality, that Betty's pretty out there. She's trying to understand her sexuality, and that can be used to maintain her relationship in any which way that she desires. Or does she? You know, or does she maintain that relationship, or does she understand her sexuality? So these are all the things that we can unpack by viewing this piece. So for me, Betty captures or epitomizes this conflict, this tension between domestic harmony and the need to fulfill her desires and her husband's desires. So I hope you really enjoy the work. I've had a great time making it. It's been really fun, lots of new learning, of course, when you approach a new piece. I've also attached a small series of slides which highlight my process of masking and freeform draping, which might help you understand how the work developed. And on top of that, there's a small playful narrative which positions Betty and Stanley. So Stanley is Betty's husband, and it might just help you enjoy the work a little bit more and think about what this domestic scene sort of looks like for them as a couple. So thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the work. Kia ora.